Well, I've been scanning the literature, and the news reports are saying the 4-day work week is coming with more popularity. There's a research study in UK that talked about it. And that made me think about, what would a 4-day work week look like? Now, a lot of you guys said, yeah, I already have that. I don't want that, because you're working 4 days, but you're working 10, 12, 14-hour days. And you're like, that's just not enough. No, what if you had a real 4-day work week? As the dream sequence begins. Maybe I just check out this episode.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 150 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, let us know about this episode. Give us ratings, give us feedbacks, because it is you, the listeners, that help keep this show up to date, talking about career challenges and life changes. Today, we are going to be talking about the 4-day work week. The 4-day work week, there's been some new literature conducted by 70 odd companies in the UK, surveying about 3,300 employees who were there. And yeah, guess what happens? They thought that it made sense to do a 4-day work week. And here, meanwhile, in the US, people are grinding away. You know, companies are telling you to go back to in person after you've been on virtual for 3 years, and maybe you've been on hybrid for 3 years, and you've effectively learned how to do your job. And well, now they're getting you back. So now you have to start putting that commute time back in there, and a lot of the things that you didn't like about your job that became better when you were able to manage your own space, manage your own time. Well, we've got to look at this with a really acute lens on this situation. And I'm going to take you through both what this study says about the 4-day work week and what you should expect out of your own 4-day work week. And we'll get into the meat of discussion right after we finish thanking our sponsors. Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey, let's go.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
It's early bird season. For License to Live, the conference, Philadelphia, PA, go to licensed2live.com to get your early bird tickets now. When I think back to my days as a general pediatrician, I would spend a lot of time in the clinic. I would be seeing patients, almost Monday through Friday. As a medical director, I was managing schedules, changing policies, improving safety, conducting inspections and all these things. And, it started off as, you have a 4-day work week when you come to work with us. It really ended up feeling more like a 6 or 7 day work week. So I, in some way, got bamboozled with this. Now, part of it is this is something I wanted. I love leadership. I love making change and knowing you can make change for the masses through policy and system change. So I worked hard at doing those type of things to make things better. However, that 4-day work week didn't quite pan out the way that I thought because, on those 4 days, and I would typically take off on a Thursday, so I wouldn't have to go into the clinic that day. I wouldn't be scheduled with patients. Unless, of course, my boss would ask me or something like that, and that would happen from time to time. We need to see more patients. We need to do more things. We need to generate more RVUs. And so the call would say, hey, can you just give up that time, volunteer the time, come on in and see some patients on your day off. And so things just started getting whittled away. And, what starts to happen? And, when people are asked to do too much, they don't have enough time, their life starts to take a turn. And, I didn't even know what to expect from this time. I was just kind of doing what I was told. I was a young junior physician, didn't really know much and still learning about the healthcare system. But then the expectation becomes, this is the reality of it. Well, okay, this 4-day work week, your patients will start at 8 and they'll end at 5. And so you're like, by the time you're putting in charting and everything else, that's easily a 10-hour day. And then if not more, when you have to do some callbacks or some pharmacy calls and some other things, you were putting in some long days. Another very common situation is those of you that, may work in ICU settings or, trauma care settings and like, all right, you take a week on and you work for a week and you get a week off. Some of you lucky ones are out there, you may get 1 week on and you may get 2 weeks off, which I think that's a fairer deal. And especially for as hard as you work over that week. And some people may have to, work 5-6 days. Then you get a 2 or 3 day break. And the key is here that we're working more and more and more in some cases and really getting less out of it. You're being asked because, you like to help people. You're good-hearted. You don't want to cause any trouble. So you just kind of do it. And there's no compensation of extra time back. All right, hey, we'll give you some extra vacation time for helping out during this time, or maybe extra compensation as far as, bonus or hazard pay or overtime pay. Those things don't always equal out either. And we know what being overworked leads to. It leads to burnout. It leads to depression. It leads to feelings of hopelessness sometimes. So there's a lot that can be said for this. But in the UK, there were 70 companies that participated in this study, various size companies that took a portion of their employees, some 3,300 employees, and said, okay, you will start a 4-day work week. This is great. And they had some really good things that came out of this. And I'll have a link to the actual article in the show notes. All you guys have to do is click down in the show notes to read all the details around the study. But it tells us things that make sense. Well, what did they say? People had less burnout. People had more happiness. People had more productivity, even in the job because of this thing. And so a lot of good things came out of this study, and not so much coming out of the fears of the productivity plummeted and the sales plummeted and all these negative monetary or economical arguments that people make against this. Now, again, this is like any study. It is a relatively small study in the UK, and well, that does not translate immediately over to the US. But all of you guys that listen in the UK, by the way, thank you for doing this. Because, well, you know what? I think it's great that there are listeners all over the world. And so any of you listening to this episode, let me know what you think about the 4-day work week, and just hit me up in a message. You can get me on social media at Dr. Jarrett, spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T. And I'd love to hear what you say about it. But of course, you can't make the direct comparison from the U.S. to the U.K. because, well, the U.S. has a gross domestic product of maybe 8 or 10 times the U.K. In fact, the GDP of California alone is roughly bigger than the UK. So we can't make this as a broad generalized statement, but there is a lot of things that we can take from these lessons because let's face it, if people are more happy doing the jobs that they like to do, they are able to deliver more, and they even feel like they have the energy and they would want to give more. So they would actually be willing to give more to do a better job because, well, their life is good. So the question becomes, what would you do with that extra day? You know, some people would just catch up on housework. Other people would start to go for other dreams. Some people would start that side business. And I know a lot of you people listening to this show, you fire starters, are listening and saying, I wish I had more time to do this. And it may be start a new business for yourself or something that you truly have a passion for. Why wouldn't you want to spend some extra time doing that? And mainly, you don't have the time because you don't have the space in your schedule to do it. A lot of us spend time working half of our waking hours or more than half of our waking hours, making money for someone else. And well, that's just the way the world goes, and that's fine. But you know there would be some things that you would want to do. So take a moment and think, what would you do? All is not lost here in the U.S. over this as well. I mean, Maryland has actually proposed a bill that would offer tax incentives to companies that would adopt a 4-day work week. So when you look at the rates of burnout, the rates of turnover, the levels of happiness, people are probably healthier too because, well, you have more time to go see the doctor. So there are places that are looking at this. So any of you guys in the DMV area that I've heard about this, shout me out because this is a very, very interesting bill that if it gets adopted, there may be more research to continue to support this policy. Let's look at what happened during the pandemic. People thought companies would collapse if people were allowed to work at home. And so people were never allowed to work at home. They had to come into the office. What did the companies discover? Whoa, we are spending a lot of money in rent and internet fees and all these things. Hey, if we can shift that space onto our employees, woo, we can make out. And a lot of places started closing office buildings. You go around some cities and towns, you see there's so much commercial real estate available because people realized they didn't need all of these offices. And people would even continue to do business with them virtually if need be. So lots of things have come out of this that we would not have necessarily seen. So what is my advice to you? Well, I do have a few words of advice that I would give to you guys, and I'll get to that right after we finish thanking our sponsor.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
This is episode 150. I just want to tell you guys, thank you. Thank you for listening. When I first started this podcast, I thought I'd probably do 40 episodes and that's that. But the more episodes I made, the more people would make comments. The more people would listen to it, and the more I had fun with it. And so I thank each and every one of you guys from here based in the U.S., North America, all of you guys across the world that do listen. It's amazing looking at how many countries are out there now. And I thank each and every one of you guys. And if you would do me a favor, tell someone about this show and encourage them to listen to this episode just as an example of something they can do to help change their life. I really appreciate that. Now, what are you going to do in order to get this 4-day work week in your life? Well, it can happen, even if it's not happening for you right now. And I know so many executives, so many physicians, lawyers listen to this podcast. You're saying there's no way I can do it. But yes, there is a way you can do it. Of course, if you are an entrepreneur, you are in charge of your own business, well, then that is up to you how to figure out how to do the 4-day work week, because it can be done, even though you think it cannot be. But for those that are employed by others as well, this is one of the first things you can do is request to work less time. Now, you can just start that request as a general request, but as you go down the road with this request, you may just say, hey, it's worth giving up a certain amount of my salary for an increase of time, because, well, what are you going to do with that time? We know that you're going to be less likely to burn out. We know you're going to be happier. We know you're probably going to even be more productive at the hours that you are going to be in the job. So why wouldn't you want to reduce a little less time at work? And if you need to decrease your salary, that's fine. But you know what? You may be able to work out something with them saying, hey, I'll probably be just as productive working a 4-day week. And you can demonstrate how that would work in your life. And that could be a great way to explore for yourself and say, hey, if I could work a 4-day work week or some X number of hours less than what I'm currently working, my life would be improved by a number of methods. And so you got to ask. You got to ask for what you need, because, well, the next step would be to find another job. Let's look at it, folks. The job market is increasingly more competitive right now. People are getting paid more. They're getting better benefits. They're getting better signing bonuses. They're getting better salaries. They're getting maybe even more free time. All of this is happening in this shaken up market in this inflationary time that we're living in. So why wouldn't you go somewhere else to look for a job? Well, a lot of people get comfortable. We've talked about being uncomfortable, and go back to the uncomfortable episode when I'm talking about trying to stand on the edge of this cliff that I was hiking on, but I just couldn't get my toes to the edge. And well, you'll see how not close to the edge they were if you look at the image on the album episode art. But nonetheless, if you stay comfortable for too long, you become stagnant and you don't get the things that you really want in your life. So looking for another job, going to another place, it may be uncomfortable temporarily, but it is all in the spirit of making life better for you. You have to look at all of these things, the benefits, the salary, the amount of vacation time you may have, because all of this is negotiable. There are too many times we don't negotiate any of these things because we think we're just happy to be on this earth. We are just happy to get this job. We are just happy to be here. Well, you can take advantage of me all you want because, hey, I'm just happy to be here. That happiness, when does it start to burn off? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Then you really get to settle in, negotiate for what you want up front. All they can do is say no. And then finally, another way that's kind of in between just plain old working less and finding a new job is just modifying your position. Because, well, just because that's the way you always did it doesn't mean that's how you have to continue to do it, because over time you work in the same place, you start to accumulate junk, just like you might have junk in your house and you move to a new house and you're like, where did all of this junk come from, when it's all boxed up and being loaded onto moving vans to go to your new house. Yes, you accumulate lots of junk in your job too. And so it's up to you to look at some of this junk that may not be fulfilling your overall purpose. It may be B, something that someone else could do without all of your training and skills that you may have. Number 3, you look at this junk and say, why am I doing this anyway? This doesn't even make sense. So then you start to look at getting rid of some of these things that you don't like in your job, and you're able to push that off to the side. And maybe it can be reassigned to someone else. Maybe we have a temporary plan where you're training somebody to do this type of work, but nonetheless, that will leave more time for you to use your creativity, to use your gifts, to use your passions to progress the company forward, because you're not doing tasks that don't add value to you. These tasks could easily add value to someone else's job that they could be doing. So just because that's how we always did it doesn't mean it's the right way. Experiment, use those plan, do, check, act cycles and try something different to see if there's some other way that you can do it more efficiently, more effectively, or with more fun. I know it can be tough out there sometimes when you're going through the daily grind of your job, but look at these things. Maybe this 4-day work week is for you. Maybe some modifications in your current job plan could be work. Maybe you could spend more time working on that dream project that you always wanted to do. And hey, my lines are open. Give me a call. Let's have that strategy session and help figure out what that may mean in your life too. Because, hey, I'm continually changing and modifying my goals just as I'm challenging you to do the same. Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been dissed, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, give me some honest feedback. Let me know what you like about the show, what you don't like, so I can keep it the best show possible to keep you up to date with life challenges and career changes. And in between episodes, hey, I hang out a lot on LinkedIn. Come check me out there, follow me there, and I will see you guys next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.